Hey guys, what's up? It's QuarlWithCode, and in this video we're going to be making a simple user login screen. For this app, we're going to make sure to keep things toned down a bit. We're not going to do anything too complicated. We're just going to make sure you guys understand everything that you've been learning and understand how to use everything you've been learning. So if you look at my Genymotion emulator, you can see that I have a sample app running that looks like a user login screen. So for the email edit text, I'm going to put QuarlWithCode@gmail.com, and then for the password I'm just going to put QuarlWithCode, and then mail for the gender, hit submit, and you see that a toast appears at the bottom of the screen. The toast just displays the basic user login information. So let's go and start this project. You can name the application tutorial 10 or user login. Click next. Make sure you're targeting phone and tablet, API 15. Next. You want blank activity, and I'm going to title the activity user login. Alright, so to start out, we're going to be using a linear layout. So let's go on and delete this Hello World text view. Hit the text tab down here and change the relative and relative layout to the word linear. If we go back to our design tab, you'll see that the relative layout has changed to a linear layout. Under properties, we want our orientation to be vertical because we're going to have different views going down the screen. So let's go over here to text field, and we want an email text field followed by a password text field. Next, we want a plain text view. Let's go and go to properties over here and set the text size of the text view to 24 dp. And next we want to go to containers, grab a radio group and drag it under the text view. And we want to add two buttons to the radio group. So grab a radio button, and over here under the component tree, make sure that you drag the radio button onto the radio group. And let's do that one more time. And you'll notice here that the radio buttons are actually going down vertically, when in the sample app they were going horizontal. So if you click radio group, you'll see a property over here called orientation, and then you want to set that to horizontal. And then there you go, you have two radio buttons going horizontally across the screen. Alright, and lastly, you want to get a button and drag it underneath. And here we go, we have the basic layout for our sample user login app. So now let's go over here to values, and let's go to the strings XML. And let's go and type out all the strings that we're going to need for our application. So we want to do string name equals, and then password, and it's going to say password. String name equals email, and it's going to say email. String name gender, and it's going to say gender with a colon. String name male, it's going to say male. String name female, it's going to say female. And lastly, string name submit, and it's going to say submit. Alright, and that should be all the strings that we're going to need to be working with in our sample user login. And don't forget, the reason we're setting the values of the strings in strings.xml instead of just doing it under the properties is because just in case we want to come back and let's say we have a Spanish user and we want to make our user login screen available for people who speak Spanish. We could easily do that using strings.xml by changing the string values inside of that rather than coming to each view inside of the app and changing the text property inside of those views. Alright, so let's click on the first edit text, and let's set the ID to email ET, and the text to @string/email. Sorry, you don't want to set the text, you want to set the hint. And there we go. Now we get that nice faded out effect. So let's do the same thing here. Let's go to the hint and @string/password. And then for the ID, password ET. Click on the text view. For the text view, we can set the ID to gender TV. And then let's go to the actual text property and set the text to @string gender. For the first radio button, go to the text property and do @string/male. And for the ID, we can do male RBTN. For the second radio button, we can do female RBTN for the ID. And under the text component, you can do @string/female. Last but not least, for the button, for the text property, you can do @string/submit. And for the ID, you can do submit BTN. Alright, and there we go. We have all of the text that we need for our sample user login app. So now we can actually start coding, doing the Java code. And let's first set the radio group ID, because that's going to be needed in the Java code. And we can set it to gender rgrp. Alright, and the reason for the capitalization at the end with the letters is so that we know, like, ET stands for edit text, TV stands for text view, so on and so forth. So let's go on and get into the Java code. We can delete these two methods and start creating our member variables. So we have an edit text, and we can call it email ET. We have another edit text. We can call it password ET. We have a radio group. We can call it gender rgrp. We have a radio button. We can call it male rbtn. We have another radio button. We can call it female rbtn. And we have a button, a regular button, and we can call it submit BTN. Alright, we're not going to need to actually reference the text view inside of the Java code because we won't be changing any of its values. It's simply there just so users know that the following two radio buttons are for gender. Alright, so now set all of our member variables equal to their corresponding views. So we can do email ET equals edit text, find view ID r.id, email ET, password ET equals edit text, find view ID r.id, password ET, gender rgrp equals radio group, find view by ID r.id, gender rgrp, male r button equals radio button, find view by ID r.id, male rbtn, female rbtn equals radio button, find view by ID r.id, female rbtn. lastly, submit btn equals button find view by id r.id submit btn. And that was a lot to say. So far all we've done is set our member variables corresponding with the design of our application, and we set our member variables equal to their corresponding views inside of the design of the application. So now the first thing we can actually do is configure our radio group so that it can actually switch between the two radio buttons and see which one is checked. And down here, let's actually add a string variable that's called gender. And you'll see why we did that in just a second. Alright, so to start off, we can do gender rgrp dot set on check change listener new on check change listener, and then if checked id equals r.id male rbtn gender, the string we just created, equals male. Else if checked id equals r.id female rbtn gender equals female. Alright, no errors, seems good. So just go over this code. We have our radio group. We're setting a check change listener, which checks to see if either of the radio buttons have been checked, or if the radio button that's been checked has been switched to the other radio button inside of the radio group. So we have two radio buttons, so we have two if statements, or if else if statement. And then if the male radio button is checked, gender equals male. If the female radio button is checked, gender equals female. So now we can start coding our submit button. So submit btn dot set on click listener new on view dot on click listener, and inside the on click method we can do toast dot make text main activity dot this, and we want to print out the email first. So we'll make a string that says email :space and concatenate email et dot get text. Messed up with that comma. Alright, so after the email get text, you're going to want to put a plus, and next is the password. So we can do password plus and then password et dot get text, add a plus, hit enter, and then after the password we have gender, and we can do gender : space and then plus and then our gender string variable. Alright, comma, and then you want to do toast dot length long. After the parenthesis you want to do the show method, make sure there's a semicolon, and everything looks good to me. I already have Genymotion running, so I can go and run the app. Alright, so now that we have the app running, I can go and test it out. So for the email, QuarlWithCode@gmail.com. For the password, QuarlWithCode. The radio group, we can test that by clicking the male radio button and then clicking the female, and you can see how they switch. And submit. And there we go. So just to go back through, if you want to make your toast appear a little bit neater, you can do /n before password and gender. And then if we run this again, fill out all the information again. You can see that you get a nicely formatted toast. Alright guys, so thank you for sitting through this longish tutorial. I know that was a lot of work and that you might be a little bit confused, but if you look back through all the tutorial videos that I've made so far, you can see that we've used a lot of things that I've been teaching throughout the tutorial series. Again guys, thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you want to keep getting updates on when I post videos like this, and have fun coding. Thanks again guys.